Well, so far we've talked about FIFO and LIFO in length, and then we've stopped and we've done some problems. I hope that's been helpful. Has it helped to talk about it and then hear from our lady on the video and then do it? Okay. It feels like we're going very slow, but then all of a sudden we're going to be at the end and you're going to be like, sweet, we get this, I understand it. Average cost kind of throws out the idea of, well, here's our old stuff, here's our new stuff. And I wrote gas tanks on there because that's very much like if you wanted to visualize rolling into the gas station, pumping gas that's coming from a tank underneath the ground. And what it does is instead of saying, here's the price we paid at the beginning, here's the price we paid at our next purchase, here's the price we paid at our next purchase, or valuing the old and the new stuff, let's just like dump it all in the tank and say, who cares if the prices were rising? Let's just take a look at what we had available and how much it cost. And then, so instead of like before, itemizing the purchases and looking at our costs increasing, they just say, let's just average all of it. And I want you to think of gas tanks when you think of this. So for the final time, we're going to see these units. We bought 100 at 10, we bought 200 at 11, we bought 300 at 12, and we bought 400 at 13. Average cost says, yeah, you need all those figures, but really, who cares? Like, who cares if the prices were rising? Let's go ahead and just average them all to get like a unit cost. So on this one, I can never remember my numbers here. Is 450 shush? Yes. So minus 450, which is shush, which is still here, equals 550 that are sold. That all still matters. We still have to take a look at how many things do we have available and what was the cost of those things. What's shush or still here collecting dust, what's sold or gone to our customers. But look at how easy it is to figure out our cost. You simply take 12,000 divided by how many things we had to say, on average, who cares if it was 10, 11, 12, or 13? On average, the stuff costs 12 bucks. We still have our 450 units that are still here, shush, collecting dust, but on average, they cost 12 bucks. Do you think that's a little easier? A lot easier. But it's kind of just like, this is close enough. Part of me thinks this isn't as meticulous as an accounting guru would want. Would you agree? From there, you roll into that next step. You take cost of goods available, or what I call COGA, cost of goods available. We got that number right from here. Minus what? What's the next line? It's the same as what FIFO, LIFO. Minus cost of goods, shush. To equal cost of goods sold. You'll always see average in the middle of FIFO and LIFO because it's an average. And I'm going to compare them here in a minute. If you think back to that long checklist or cheat sheet that I gave you, you're still figuring out, I'll switch pen colors here. You're still figuring out this. You're still figuring out the 12 grand. You're still figuring shush and sold. It's just that figuring out shush is a little bit easier. And then roll over to sold. It's still the same. It's still the same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps. I like the visual here. Again, going back to that tank concept. They're saying, we've spent 12 grand to get 1,000 units. Who cares that in some of those units were 10 bucks, some of them were 11, some of them were 12, and some of them were 13. They're saying, who cares? Let's just take what it costs to get these 1,000 units, and then that's going to give us our average per unit. From there, you can roll into what's shush or gone, sold to customers. So it's still the 450 are here, 550 are gone, but it's just, let's just average our costs instead of beat ourselves up over first in, first out, or last in, first out. This should feel easy. Does it feel easy? Good. This, do you have this in your notes? Tell me you have this in your notes. Good, good. Talk about analytics here. But this is taking all of our FIFO-LIFO average. You know, we have those 1,000 units. 450 are shush. 550 are sold. And they're saying, okay, 1,000 units at $12,000 a piece. Here's how the financial statements shake out with FIFO. Here's how they shake out with LIFO. And then finally, average. I printed myself a little cheat sheet. This is a condensed, multi-step income statement. Notice net income. This is an awesome, like this would really help you on the essay of the test, being able to explain what's happening here. So let me help you. FIFO, you are going to see the highest net income. LIFO, you're going to see the lowest net income. Now, what you need to know here, during times of rising prices. Let's stop and talk about why. FIFO, we are recognizing COGS, or cost of goods sold, that are cheap stuff. So we are selling the oldest cheap values. Notice I didn't say stuff, because we might not be selling the stuff. We're just recognizing those oldest, cheapest values. The reason they're cheapest is because of this, times of rising prices. With LIFO, we're recognizing that we're selling the newest, more expensive values. Hence the reason we don't have much of a net income, because COGS is so high. We're selling the value, we're recognizing values that are so much higher. So let me go back to it. In times of rising prices, FIFO will result in a larger net income because COGS is lower. Cost of goods sold is lower. We're selling the cheaper stuff. In times of rising prices, LIFO will result in a much smaller net income because COGS is a lot higher. We're selling the expensive stuff. And average is really typically a split between the two, because we're averaging our prices. We're not saying we're selling the cheap, we're selling expensive. There's your answer on your 5-point essay on your test. What can I help with here? What are you wondering? Could all of you explain this to Eli if he came back? Without knowing anything about FIFO, LIFO average, could you do it? Hello, Eli, if you're listening out there. So on that long cheat sheet that I gave you, I think number 8 was analyze. That's just what happened. We just analyzed the difference between FIFO, LIFO average. Step back a couple days, you would have had no idea what this meant. But you've now dug in. You've dug into FIFO a lot. LIFO seemed pretty easy. Now average was like a piece of cake. But now looking at this, hello, that makes a lot of sense, especially when you can see it all side by side with each other. Did I skip a lot of the stuff like gross profit and operating? Yeah, I did. But what I'm telling you is net income in relation to which approach. Speaking of approaches, well, we'll come back to my buckets. I love the buckets. This is kind of a wrap-up of the whole chapter. This is saying, okay, whether you're going with FIFO, LIFO, or average, or maybe even that fourth one, specific identification, just be consistent. Don't be like, oh, the prices are rising. Let's switch from FIFO to LIFO or LIFO to FIFO. Just be consistent. Consistency is preferred. The company still is the company and they call their own shots. You can change it. It's just that consistency is probably the best option. If you are a FIFO-based inventory costing company, stick with FIFO. Yes. If prices just are seeing a giant switch, if all of a sudden instead of rising prices, all of a sudden prices are consistently going down, why would a company switch? I'd say prices. But now, you're going to see, flash sales and, oh, buy in bulk, we're going to give you a discount. There's all those little like quick hitters, but I'd say or giant economic shifts. During the housing crisis, I'm sure you saw a big shift because the economy was very shaken. Post 9/11, you probably saw a huge shaken economy. So, which of course directly relates to supply and demand and cost of things. Good examples. Sometimes, again, I know BPA is on the forefront here. A lot of you are heading to BPA soon. You throw things in there like, you're presenting to a judge and you're talking about financial stuff, and you throw things like, we here at ABC Company, we use the FIFO method because we recognize that prices are rising and the judges will be really, really impressed. If you can throw this into some lingo, that's really good. Or, as you maybe do senior mentorships this spring, or you're doing an internship this summer and you're working with inventory, ask them, are you using a FIFO or LIFO or average approach? They'll be very impressed. And it's kind of cool to know not only what they use, but why. So this is some pretty powerful stuff if you understand it and can talk the talk and walk the walk in, areas outside of school. So the key word here is consistency. Try to be consistent unless there's some major economic shakeup. Here's a couple review questions, and then we'll try some average. We'll do some average problems together. The cost flow method, so again, FIFO, LIFO, average, which one? They've got another random one in there. That often parallels the actual flow of merchandise is what? FIFO. Got to sell the old strawberries. Otherwise, they're going to mold and go bad. Okay, but remember, FIFO, LIFO, average, or cost flow assumptions, cost flow methods really have nothing to do with the strawberries. It's more of what value are we assigning to what we had to buy them for. But yes, FIFO parallels like natural flow of goods. In a period of inflation or rising prices, the cost flow method that results in the lowest income taxes. Now hold on. In other words, the lowest net income. If you don't make much money, you're not going to have to pay as many income taxes. So which one will result in the lowest? And I want you to know that lowest income taxes definitely relates to lowest income. Which one? Why LIFO? COGS is higher because we're selling the more expensive values. I don't want to talk about that one. So before we roll into how do we deal with errors, let's do a few problems. Go back to I called it a surfboard yesterday. It's a snowboard, right? Go back to the snowboard one. We're going to do that. You can do the other one on your own just to get that on paper, and then we'll keep rolling with the lecture. You guys had quite a bit of free time yesterday, so we're going to keep going today. Again, this checklist is super helpful, but just know after you've done 1 through 5, you roll into average cost, which is kind of a different one. So let's try that. We've got the surfboard business going on here. We still have the 141 things, selling 12 of, or 121 of them with 20 shush still here. Let's do average cost. Do you have a lot of space on yours? Do you have quite a bit of space on yours? Okay, I don't. Okay, more than that, good. I think that's why I have this blank page here. So we know that step 1 is done, step 2 is done. What's step 3? Okay, what's step 3 on our cheat sheet? Let's look. This cheat sheet. Units sold, so we know that 121 sold and 20 are shush still here. Okay, so we've done 1, 2, 3, 4. We've marked, we've done the markings, okay, but then, so we've talked about the stuff on top. Now down below is the value of what's, oh, I did that backwards. Sorry. All right, so when we try to figure out the value, what are we going to do with average? We first are going to figure out the dollar amount of stuff that's still here, or not, oh, sorry, I shouldn't have said still here, available, divided by how many units are available. How many units were available before we even started selling anything? 141. So we have 141 units available that cost us 14442. Our average then is $102.43. So this was our, and maybe I shouldn't have even put it under shush, but this was our average cost. Whether it's the stuff shush or whether it's the stuff F, gone. Then we can roll into, well, we have 20 units shush. 20 units are still here, times the average cost of those, $2,048.60. So the stuff that's collecting dust, on average, is costing us $2,048.60. Then you roll onto this side where it's cost of goods available minus cost of goods shush equals cost of goods sold. These numbers are already waiting for you. You just got to plug them in. So then remember, you take that 14,442 minus what's still here, cost of what's still here, that is, to equal 12,393.40. Again, shame on me for putting this here. This should have probably gone like up here. It's not necessarily under shush. We needed it to calculate shush, but I should have probably just shoved it somewhere else. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's just, I don't want you to say, oh, this has to do with shush, because it really has to do with both. Yeah. And I'll have students, this is what, you know, I'm, the teacher in me is overwriting notes. I'm over explaining everything. Could you do this just all on a calculator and not have to show your work, so to speak? You know, you could just put the number under shush could be 2048. The number under S could be, you know, the 12,003. You could do all that on a calculator. I like the over labeling of things just to repeat it in your head so it makes sense. Try the next one on your own. Try the whole selling units. And I'll put the answer up here. What's our average unit cost? Yes. How did I get that? Yeah, so 935 divided by 90 will average at $10.39. Round, my money mind says round to the nearest cent, okay? Or the hundredth, whatever your mind says to you. Then I would take the 25 units that are shush times that 1039 to equal 259.75. And then the teacher and me would have said cost of goods available minus cost of goods shush equals cost of goods sold. Your final number would be 675.25. Bam. Okay. Before I keep lecturing, I want you to try this Coletta company. Remember how we couldn't find, like, the reason I stopped it the day we did FIFO is because I didn't know what we had sold and what was shush. I'm going to give you one number and it should roll through everything you need. Sound good? You actually have to do number 1 and 2 on your cheat sheet though. Do you see that? Like, let's just look at your numbers a minute. On June 1st, we bought 200 units. On June 12th, we bought, or I'm sorry, let me backtrack. On June 1st, we started with 200 units in inventory. On June 12th, we bought 400 more. On June 23rd, we bought 300 more. Our ending inventory, or in other words, shush, was down to 100 units. So this is shush. We have 100 left. So that's a little tricky. How many units did we actually have available? It's right here. Oh, sorry. We started with 200. We bought another 400 more, and then we bought another 300 more. What's our available, total available? Step 1 of our cheat sheet, 900. So if I had to do it our traditional way, it would have been 200 plus 400 plus 300. We had 900 available. That's step 1 on your cheat sheet. They told you right here how many were shush. So minus 100 shush equals how many sold. You see how that's kind of confusing? It's confusing because they give you one answer, but they didn't give you the rest. So 100 was shush, 800 was sold. Now what other math do you have to do? Total cost available. They've done 200 times 5, they've done 400 times 6, they've done 300 times 7. So you would just add up the 1,000 and the 24 and the 21 to equal what? 5,500. Just so you know down here, 5,500 divided by what? Why is it 900? It's available. Average is all about available, okay? So I just wanted to guide you through those little hiccups. What I'd like you to do is, I want to know cost of goods shush, cost of goods sold, cost of goods shush, cost of goods sold. Down under average, cost of goods shush, cost of goods sold. This is going to be the highest number, this is going to be the lowest number, and this will be in between. I think it'll be a good little test to see if you can do this without me. But I thought I owe it to you to get this top part set up. So to curb the total boredom, I'm not going to go through the answers just because, I mean, if any of you are like, whoa, where'd that number come? I certainly will, but I'll just give you the answers, or I'll give you the boxes. that's an 8. How'd we do? This will be much like the test format. I'll actually have boxes on there, and it's up to you if you want to show me your math or not. Here's the deal. In accounting, yeah, you can show me your math, but if it's wrong, it's wrong. Even though your math might be right. So you can just be super just all on the calculator and plug in the boxes, or you can have it look more like something like, where are you here? It can look like our previous ones. Oh boy, I just need to use my mouse. So no, I'm not going to assign you that homework. We just did it together. Boy, this is locked up. I would like, let's see, what time are we at here? 10 o'clock. I would like to just roll into the next section. It's just more talking about things and just understanding the vocabulary. I don't know if there's any end of chapter work. Ooh, this is a good one. That's for later. I just want to go into the, just continue with the lecture a little bit. Just talking about how this impacts financial statements, and we'll end there. Obviously, people can screw up. A counter can miscount stuff. Maybe something doesn't get scanned. There's errors that can occur. We're humans. A few common causes, again, maybe someone either priced or miscounted inventory. Maybe you didn't recognize when goods were in transit, who owned them, you know, the shipper or the destination. Or, of course, you can have errors show up on the financial statement. So there's a lot of reasons that things can happen. Here's a few of the common inventory-based errors. How does it affect the income statement? Do you have this in your notes or my handout? No? You do? Okay, good. So if you take a look at what we start with, plus what we buy, minus what's left, that really ends up being cost of goods sold. Well, what are some errors that can occur, and how does it affect the income statement? Here we go with understating, overstating again, which it's never a crowd favorite. I'll be honest, it's not even mine favorite. But when this type of inventory error occurs, so if you understate what you started with, understating means, like, let's say there's 10 units in beginning inventory. Let's say that we understate that and we only counted 6. Someone who was in charge of counting those 10 units screwed up and they only counted 6. Well, what will that do over here? It's going to understate cost of goods sold. Because all the way across here, we started with way less when it should have been more. So it would make cost of goods sold appear to be way lower than it should have been. Net income then would be overstated because it's going to look like we have more money than we really do. I'll say that all again. If beginning inventory should have been 10 and we said it was 6, we're going to have a lower cost of goods sold than we should, and it's going to look like we have more money than we do. If we overstate the beginning, so if we have 10 units there, but we said we had 20, well, then it's going to look like our COGS was way higher than it should have been. And if COGS is higher, then net income is going to be a lot lower. If we understate what's going on here, so if we had, let me change numbers. If we have 5 left in ending inventory and we understate that and said we only have 2 left, Cost of goods sold is going to be overstated. If cost of goods sold is overstated, then that's going to make net income go down. And on the last one, if we had 5, but we have 5 truly, but we said, I guess there's 10 still left there. It's going to make cost of goods sold look lower than it should be, resulting in a net income that's overstated, or we've made more money than we should have. That's from the income statement perspective. You're not going to have an essay about this. You may have one like multiple choice question or true false question about this. If we leave the income statement and go talk about the balance sheet, then let's talk about the errors that could occur there. Ending inventory. You own that asset. If you overstate that, so in other words, if there's 10 in ending inventory, but you say there's 20, it's going to look like you have more assets than you do, and it's going to look like you're worth more than you really are. Liabilities aren't really affected here. So if you overcount or overstate your inventory, it's going to look like you have more assets, also making it look like you're worth more. If you understate it, it's going to look like you have less assets than you do, and it's also going to make you look like you're worth less than you really are. That one's a little bit easier to understand. I can see a pile of inventory sitting there. And if I say, yep, it's double, well, no, you're really not, and it's going to make you look worth more too. So I just thought I'd quickly talk about over and understating. It's more of like, if you screw up, here are the repercussions that follow all the way through the income statements. That's really all I wanted to talk about. Tomorrow, we are going to do, I think there's 2, but I know we're going to do a couple ratios tomorrow. We'll do some more problems tomorrow. I don't know about Thursday, you guys. We'll see. But then I want to start the A set, so then you can get into B set and be ready for another test. Friday the 19th, the last day of the semester.